Dear ladies and gentlemen, war does not determine who is right, only who is left. This quote of Bertrand Russell opens my topic, war conflicts and their social and psychological impact. My name is Ekaterina Tsaranok and I'm director of Modern Education and Research Institute, or just simply MARY. MARY is based in Brussels and specializes in research on professionalization of teaching profession and academic diplomacy. We are also a publishing house, providing our members with the possibility to publish monographs, books, handbooks, and manuscripts, as well as scientific articles in our own scientific journal, the Scientific Journal of Modern Education and Research Institute. We also provide professional training courses for educators, and I'm happy to see a lot of names of our students in the speakers list of this distinguished conference. I also have to add that MARY is an official representation of Gumilev Eurasian National University from Nur-Sultan. My intervention is based on several studies that analyze the war conflicts in Africa and the Middle East, although we can apply certain conclusions on the Ukrainian crisis as well. Postmodern war conflicts are characterized by political, ethnic, or religious struggle. Every year, these conflicts cause millions of men, women, children to be threatened, wounded, killed, raped, displaced, recruited by forces, deprived of potable water, stable shelter, and nourishment. The origin of conflict determines the particular psychological impact upon a population. Of course, territorial invasion can be more violent because it is connected with the principle of domination. In my speech, I will concentrate on the situation around refugees and displaced people. Belgium is prepared to host 83,000 Ukrainian refugees by the end of this current year. In March, Belgium welcomed 2,000 Ukrainian refugees a day. Today, this amount dropped and we welcome around 500 refugees a day, although still this number is much bigger than the average among the countries of the Western Europe. The average is 200 people a day. It is supposed that only 20% of the Ukrainians who arrived to Belgium will remain in Belgium and will integrate into the society, and the other 80% is believed to return back to Ukraine as soon as the situation stabilizes, presumably 2023-2024. When refugees arrive to a foreign country, they go through several phases. During the first phase, in addition to having fled the violence and insecurity, refugees are unprepared for the dehumanization of the situation in their new life. Sometimes it is a camp life where everything must be learned from anew. I mean here obtaining a refugee card, sometimes maybe even fighting for access to shelter and food, learning to share showers and toilets with strangers and bearing with poorly hygienic conditions. They must cope with insufficient food, great changes to their daily routine, for example, new location, new weather conditions, new activities during the day. Also shifts in their reference system. For example, their roles, social roles change. Their values also change. They go through a lot of changes in their beliefs and in their identity. And of course, a lot of problems may arise due to contacts with people, with the refugees of other nationalities and with the humanitarian workers as well. All of this is a source of great stress for families and individuals, and violence may be a direct consequence of this particular stress. In the second phase, these refugees or displaced people slowly realize that their living conditions are deteriorating, and this might not change quickly. Expectations, desperation, anxiety for the future may set in and reduce the family's capacity for resilience in the face of the emergency, as well as their ability to begin and rebuild all their life processes anew. Sometimes the entire family must share a small room and parents no longer have their privacy. When the refugees live in a host family, several adults exercise authority under the same roof. Each one feels that they do not have enough control over the events. Some feel shortchanged while others feel unwanted. Often, good intentions are not enough to prevent disputes among adults. In April, Mary conducted a workshop for educators on the psychology of trauma and post-trauma. Although this topic is quite hot today, the majority of the population does not suffer from those syndromes in the psychopathological sense of the term. According to the World Health Organization, in a crisis situation, 35 to 50% of people manifest light to moderate distress that may be remedied through psychosocial intervention and may be resolved even during the first weeks. 15 to 20% of the population present lasting light to moderate distress, for example, psychosomatic issues. Specific mental health support intervention is necessary in this particular case. And 3 to 4% of the population suffer from a major psychiatric disorder, meaning severe depression, major anxiety, and need of psychiatric treatment. As we see here, the majority of refugees experience the psychological consequences that are generally classified as psychological distress or suffering. It is, for example, the feeling of increased vulnerability, fear, low self-esteem, and in some cases, it can also be physical complaints, for example, headaches, difficulty sleeping, stomach ache, weight loss, and some other symptoms. It can also be said that depression conveys despair, and uncertainty in regard to the future or lack of future, and the situation of powerlessness with regard to life that had become unmanageable. Often this is caused by impossible and never-ending mourning when people expose themselves too much to the media and, of course, to the social media as well. We see signs of depression, for example, when a mother no longer cares for her children because she is physically and emotionally very much exhausted. I have seen this situation with my Belgian friends. They hosted a family of 4. Parents spent the whole day reading about the conflict, watching the news about Ukraine, discussing those news with their friends and family in Ukraine. And they absolutely show no interest in the daily routine outside of the conflict, including taking care of their children. And at the end of the day, this was the task of the host family to take care of everything and everyone, to provide for this guest family and for their own family consisting of 3 people. And also they had to babysit children of this guest family. Needless to say that the host refused to host this family in maybe 2 months already. Following the early days of the conflict, material and intellectual resources will depend primarily on humanitarian aid. On average, in the long run, the traditions, spiritual and educational practices will generally provide social and psychological support, as well as identity support, creating a sense of calm in the minds of people during the chaos. The need to protect and educate children, to give them a better future, may also strengthen the determination of parents and families to survive and help them cherish the hope of a better future. Humanitarian aid, protection, and safety of the people, as well as sufficient information about the situation and about the available resources are all factors that make it possible to substantially improve the psychological well-being of the population. This can be further strengthened by the role played by a return to specific routine, such as, for example, a return to work or schooling for children and so on. Amid the humanitarian aid, the role of individuals need to be encouraged as this will help the treatment process. Self-management and attempting to reappraise on situation, sharing it, and having a think about what went on can lead to finding some resolution to problems. Self-management is not a substitute for medical care or individual counseling, but it helps survivors work with their clinicians, with their doctors, and with other people who provide psychological or just moral help. Strong self-efficacy leads the individuals to feeling in control, therefore feeling confident about own ability to achieve goals and their role in post-traumatic recovery. Another very important thing is the avoidance of learned helplessness in survivors, as this can only worsen suffering. For example, depression and other related mental health problems may result from a perceived absence of control over the outcome of a stressful situation. This learned helplessness in itself can contribute to poor health, where people may neglect their diet, exercise, medical treatment, falsely believing they have no power to change. Various behavioral personal changes start taking place as a result, and the more people perceive events as uncontrollable, as unpredictable, the more stress they experience and the less hope they feel about making changes in their lives. It is therefore a paramount importance to encourage individuals to try and take more active role in maintaining their well-being and health to minimize falling into this helplessness or hopelessness, even I would say. Offering advice on taking direct positive actions to cope and make some small changes can help, particularly in non-severely affected cases. I came to the end of my intervention. Unfortunately, my dear colleagues, peace around you was destroyed. But don't let anyone or anything destroy peace inside of you. I wish today's conference a success and look forward to the interesting exchange of views.